Today, I'd like to take a look at one of my favorite characters in media, who I believe is one of the best examples of a genuinely smart protagonist. Lots of shows try to have a character that's smart, but most of them fall flat, and the characters either come across as someone who isn't intelligent at all, someone who is just completely insufferable along with being a moron, or worse, both. Writing a smart character is hard, especially writing one that's smarter than you. And it's even trickier to show off their intelligence without making them come across as a jerk, condescending, or just unlikable. The Great Mouse Detective is one of the very few movies that has actually succeeded in that endeavor, giving us a character who is not only incredibly intelligent, but also likable. His quirks and mannerisms are believable, without coming across as someone who doesn't care about anyone else. He can be short-tempered, snappish, even outright rude, but he doesn't actually mean to hurt anyone's feelings, and he has genuine remorse for it if he does, and tries to fix it. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. He just doesn't always realize how his behavior comes off. A lot of the fake intelligent characters will use big words and scientific terminology where it isn't necessary, like Jimmy Neutron referring to table salt as sodium chloride instead of just calling it salt when everyone else does and he knows it, to try and sound smarter than everyone else. This doesn't make them sound smarter, it makes them sound obnoxious, and it's painfully obvious when it happens. It never sounds like they're speaking that way naturally because that's just how they talk. It always comes across as very forced and like they're doing it on purpose just to sound like the smartest person in the room as an ego thing. It's not like he has never heard people call it salt before. His parents obviously call it that, and so do his friends and literally everyone else around him. He knows how everyone else speaks. He purposely chooses to use different terms to sound different, and so people will have to ask him to clarify if they don't understand. So he gets to explain and show off that he's smarter than they are. It doesn't make him look intelligent, it makes him look like a jerk. Basil speaks very plainly most of the time. He uses proper words and phrasing, sure, but in the same way that everyone else around him does because they're in ye olde England, and that's just how everyone speaks. When he does actually start using a lot of scientific terminology, it's completely appropriate to the situation because he's using scientific techniques and chemical analysis to find evidence. Plus, you have to take into account who he's talking to. A doctor, who he knows can probably understand the terminology he's using just fine. He's not trying to explain what he's doing to Olivia or to his housekeeper. He's explaining it to someone else of high learning and scientific mind. He's not showing off to try and make anyone feel stupid like so many other characters do. This is just how he works. He doesn't want to make anyone else feel small or stupid like other quote-unquote smart characters clearly do. He's also got a very fun personality. While he can be deadly serious and focused, especially when someone is in danger, he can also be downright goofy and doesn't really care who sees it. He's not there to impress anyone, he's there to do his job, and he's going to do it his way. He has very intense mood swings. I don't want to say bipolar or manic depressive, I'm not a psychologist and I can't diagnose anyone, but he definitely switches around very quickly. One moment he can be bouncing off the walls excited, the next slumping into his chair and playing his own sad violin music. On a tiny violin no less, considering he's a mouse. He can whip from one emotion to another in the blink of an eye, while also being largely unaffected by things that bother or shock other people. He'll bark and snarl with a dog to get him good and riled up for the chase. He'll crawl around on all fours looking for a dropped object, or, well, shot object in this case, in front of guests. He doesn't care if people think he's weird. He's good at what he does and he knows it. He'll put on an unflattering outfit to disguise his identity if the situation calls for it. He has his dignity, but he can put it aside with no qualms whatsoever, if it's necessary to the situation. His heart is also definitely in the right place. He is genuinely distressed when Olivia is kidnapped, and he hurts Dawson's feelings without intending to while raging at what has just happened. He quickly turns to comforting Dawson and trying to find a solution, rather than letting himself continue to be angry. He easily gives praise, telling Dawson he's done excellent work multiple times, even if all Dawson did was pick up something he saw on the ground. A lot of people would probably find him unfriendly or off-putting, but really nothing could be further from the truth. He's genuine and honest and tells people what he truly thinks and expects them to do the same. A lot of people would probably code him as autistic, but like I said, I'm not a mental health care professional, and I don't like the idea of assigning a diagnosis or condition to a character when that probably wasn't the intent of the creators at all. Not everyone who is just a bit eccentric or has their own style of doing or seeing things has a mental illness. Sometimes people are just built different, and are okay enough with that to not feel the need to hide it. Upon thinking he's been defeated by Ratigan, he goes practically catatonic and just gives up. It's not until Dawson triggers an idea that set its brains off running again that he snaps out of it, and immediately jolts into having a huge, wild grin. This guy's mood swings more than a bored middle-class suburban couple in their 40s, with significantly more enjoyable results. Basil is definitely not a fighter. When the bar fight breaks out, he doesn't throw any punches, he just tries to get himself and Dawson out of there to follow Fidget. When trapped later by Ratigan, he doesn't throw a single punch, not even when Ratigan is right in his face. Later on, when fighting Ratigan in the clock tower, it's largely the same thing. He doesn't strike back, he just runs and tries to get Olivia away from him, and gets torn apart by Ratigan. Granted, with the size difference and the obvious difference in strength, he probably knows that trying to fight someone like Ratigan would be a lost cause. He's certainly familiar with guns, but doesn't seem to have taken one with him when they were tracking down Olivia, and he didn't have one with him in the clock tower fight. The Queen throws more punches than he does. Whether it's a matter of physical strength, which I don't think it is all the time. He seems to have a wiry kind of strength to him. Or maybe he's just one of those people who finds it hard to even imagine getting physically violent. Maybe it's upbringing, maybe it's that he's just seen it end badly too many times. He clearly avoids physical confrontation when possible, though he won't hesitate to run into danger, like when Fidget showed up at his window and frightened Olivia, rushing outside to try and apprehend him. We don't really get Basil's backstory, and he seems like the kind of person who probably had a wealthier upbringing and went to nice schools and all, so chances are he never experienced a lot of schoolyard or street fights. Some people just aren't fighters, even if they're still brave and pretty tough. Which he definitely is tough. Surviving the beatdown Ratigan gave him certainly proves that. He's quick and agile, the rest of him moving almost as fast as his brain sometimes. I bet he'd be great at martial arts. But not sure if they had any places to learn martial arts in ye olde England, and after that costume he wore at the beginning, they might be less than inclined to train him. You definitely could not get away with something like that in movies today. In any case, he's just not a fighter, despite being in a very dangerous line of work. Dawson isn't either, being an older, gentlemanly type and a doctor. While they do make an amazing pair, they should probably get someone on their team who can throw a decent punch just in case they get into a sticky situation on any of their cases. That lady at the bar had a pretty hefty backhand. I'm sure she'd be great hired muscle, and really unexpected. Plus, she worked at one of the seediest pubs in the city, obviously has some connections going by the attempted drugging of our protagonists. Huh. You know, I'm getting way too many ideas with this, and I don't really write fanfiction anymore, so I should probably not let myself get running down that track, but if anyone else wants to take the idea and run with it, you have my blessing. Basil is an amazing character. He's well-rounded and believable as someone you could actually meet, even if he's really one of a kind. He has flaws, but not ones that make him awful, annoying, or irredeemable. He has the kinds of flaws that are entirely realistic for a person in his line of work, and with his passions to have. He's fun. He's hilarious. He's dark and serious and lighthearted and inspiring. Watching him makes me want to be more like him, to be more clever, to learn new things, to be able to put the pieces together no matter how scattered they are, and figure out the truth, whether it's the truth I want to hear or not. There are very few characters that I can call flawless, but honestly, I can't think of a single thing about him I'd change, except that we didn't get enough of him. There was a TV show in the works at one point, but it fell through, which I'm both disappointed by and kind of relieved by. As great as he was in the movie, TV shows have a way of watering down their characters and ruining a lot of the things that made you like them in the first place. So in a way, I'm glad that he's in a very limited quantity, because it means that we can enjoy him just as he is without having to water him down or getting an overdose. We can appreciate what we had with him and maybe come up with our own stories, or just enjoy the one we already have. Thank you all for joining me. Part of this series is just wanting an excuse to use this character again. I like how it came out. And I'm thinking of reworking the background and all for my videos in the future. I know things are really scary for almost everyone out there right now, so please, more than ever, take time to just try and relax and do something gentle with yourself. If doing something to prepare for the worst helps you feel more secure, you can take a few steps a day towards being prepared, like maybe picking up a portable first aid kit while you're getting groceries, making a note of where shelters are, or just talking with friends about how you can support each other. You're not alone, even when it sometimes feels that way. As dark as things can get, the sun has to rise eventually, and it always will. Be safe, stay warm, and I'll see you in the next one.